Let's go. The clip. Oh. Welcome, everybody, to the EU Diamond Losers Finals. We are going to have quite the matchup for you guys. I am Too Try Hard Ray, joined by the amazing Rain, and we got Breizhurect going up against Goon Squad. How you doing today, Rain?
Pretty good. I'm excited. This is a big match. Obviously, this is going to determine who is going to that grand finals here for the EU Diamond Division. And unfortunately, the loser are going to just have to be happy with that third place.
Yeah, it's going to be action-packed. So let's go ahead and bring up the bracket if we can while we are talking about this, just so we can get an idea of, I believe these teams have played each other before. Yes, they have, as Goon Squad in the quarterfinals took them out in the semifinals, took them out 3-0, and now they meet again in losers finals. Can Breizhurect get revenge on them, or will Goon Squad go up to take their own revenge in the grand finals?
Yeah, I'm excited to see this one. Not only is this a rematch in the playoffs, but this EU Diamond division, a relatively small division compared to some of the other ones competing in Season 16. So these teams have faced off against each other before in the mid-season tournament and in the regular season. But ever since that kind of mid-season tournament, it has been Goon Squad that's kind of been getting the better of these matches.
Going to be exciting to see, especially with EU doing so well at OWCS so far. They obviously have a lot of, we know how good Symmetra is going to be. I mean, Diamond's also one of those divisions where it's not clear cut what teams are going to play, but EU has always been, let's say, historic for loving their brawl and their sim. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that today.
Yeah, I think that especially getting to see the pros play the sim, everybody, including the Diamond players, definitely going to want to try and play a little bit more of that. Now, of course, here in CGL, we are going to have those hero bans as well. So, you know, if it shows that the Symmetra comp a little bit too strong, you could end up having that banned out, and then you got to pivot. Still lots of opportunities to play other heroes in those rest compositions, though.
That's going to be the name of the game of this series. And because Goon Squad is coming from the winners finals, they will get to pick that first map from our map pool, which is Oasis, Busan, Lijiang Tower, and Nepal. So no Ilios shenanigans. You know, there's always those teams who live to play dive every now and then and force you to Ilios, but that's not the capability. I guess if you want to play dive, you probably are more likely to go to a map like Busan or Oasis.
I agree, and I mean, all of the CGL matches that I've been casting, it does feel like Lijiang Tower tends to be the starting map. I think a lot of teams kind of more leading towards that. You mentioned kind of the rush composition kind of favored by EU here, so you have an opportunity to play that on pretty much any of those sub maps. That garden map, though, where you can kind of get a little bit more dive heavy, but I'm thinking also you mentioned the Symmetra, and I think Symmetra plays fantastically on Lijiang Tower, especially on garden and on market.
Yeah, no doubt, as we know that is going to be the first map picked by Goon Squad. So let's go ahead and pull up their roster now that we are talking about them a little bit, as we got Rat Blazing, the OG Mason, Cooking Bacon, and Sparky Bear, which I think the one interesting thing is Sparky Bear has Cass. But they're interesting. I guess they're sort of a flex here with Cass being their preferred hero, but they got the damage icon. They're playing support, so must be a little bit of a flex over here.
Yeah, and Goon Squad has a decent amount of kind of substitutions as well if they need to make those during the course of this match. It's nice to have some people on the bench ready to go. Let's take a look over at their opponent. Oh no, we don't have the roster for Breizhurect, unfortunately. But
not yet.
We'll get there. But yeah, I think having Sparky Bear over on this traditionally DPS, but moving over on to that support, it's always interesting to see players make those changes. Here we go, not to rush my producer, Breizhurect, taking a look at this roster, and oh yeah, 4 supports, let's go. I'm so ready for this. I suspect we're gonna have Rodark and AKZ on the DPS, Captain Irwin on that tank, Terranex and Ratchet over on the support line for this team.
Always going to be a fun time in CGL. Losers finals, so much on the line. Winner will get to go to the grand finals and compete for the championship. Loser goes home. So it's going to make things that much exciting. I think Lijiang Tower is going to be a perfect place to play this brawl competition that we're expecting. Ramattra obviously had that buff a little bit ago, got that extra 25 HP. So Ramattra has been potent, especially on Lijiang Tower, but always the other hero is still always going to be good, like Malgas if you want to go ground and pound. Orisa, if you're feeling like you don't feel good with your Ramattra matchup, Orisa can be good into it. Even Zarya at this point, we've seen a lot of Zarya at OWCS, so wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of teams start to look at that and mirror that.
Yeah, I like the Zarya shout. I think that the Zarya Reaper composition is back in a very, very comfortable place. And I think that if teams really want to kind of get prepared for the next competitive season, Vendetta plays really well with that Zarya as well, playing in a similar style to either the Reaper or the Venture, where you get aggressive, you go in, you get that bubble, you need to confirm the kill pretty quickly. But I think that this definitely could be more of a meta that we might kind of slide into. And I think that will match up really well for EU, where you really like to play this Lucio, you like to play those rush compositions, and you can get very aggressive if you can get nice high charge on that Zarya.
Yeah, the Zarya, I mean, despite getting that micro nerf to the charge perk, still going to be a strong pick, especially pairing it with Reaper, you know, having that Wu Yang, that Kiri. It's a pretty dangerous combination.
Yeah. Lijiang Tower. So we are going to be waiting for some hero bans to come in as well. So you mentioned Goon Squad is the team that was coming down from that upper bracket down into the lower. So they got to pick out Lijiang. I believe that they will also get the opportunity to go for the first ban here.
That is correct.
Yeah, and I feel like in these first maps, it's kind of hard. You know, this is 2 teams that have gone against each other quite a few times. But this first one is maybe not going to be as kind of targeted as we go on in the series, where you get a better idea of kind of where is the weakness in the other team.
I think it kind of depends with the smaller divisions, like the Diamonds, like the Plats, like some of the GM divisions where there's like so few teams where you play each other a lot. You can start to see extremely targeted bans right off the right off the gut, as we're going to see a Rhine ban there. Sorry, it's not really showing the graphic there, but you can see the little logo over the Rhine. So Rhine ban coming in for Breizhurect. So Breizhurect got the first ban. Interesting.
Okay, yeah, and the Reinhardt, I feel like you mentioned, this feels like maybe more of a targeted ban, where Reinhardt not necessarily kind of that strong in the meta, especially where you mentioned Ramattra is getting a lot more play, and the Ramattra can kind of outmaneuver the Reinhardt fairly easily on most of these maps. So definitely think that we are coming out the gate with that kind of target ban, looking to shut down Goon Squad a little bit.
The question is, what will Goon Squad do in response with their bans? Sorry. I think it's gonna depend. I think support's probably the better way to go on a map like Lijiang, unless you just feel like you aren't good at sim and want to look to ban that. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I think, interestingly, I've been seeing more and more teams ban out the Lucio on the first map, which always kind of surprised me a little bit, because Lucio, you know, on these control maps, you like having that speed, you like having that aura healing, but no, it's going to be the Venture getting banned out here. I think then really nice call, especially on Control Center. We have been seeing more and more of that Venture being played, because they're able to just do so much damage up close and plays really nicely into these rush compositions.
Yeah, I think the Venture, I mean, we've even been seeing it play quite a bit at OWCS. Like, when you're seeing it at the high level, like, Venture's kind of always been that hero where at the highest levels hasn't really been, you know, been very spotty when they get played. But in the lower ones, if you have a good Venture who's mechanically skilled, you can really wreck lower lobbies. The fact that it's being played at the highest tiers, it's going to be just as deadly here in the lower tier. So I think right off the gut to go with that, I think is a very smart decision.
Yeah, I am. We'll have to see if these bans are going to be as impactful as we're kind of thinking they're going to be on Lijiang Tower, especially if this is a targeted ban onto the Reinhardt specifically. But I think that having these two bans come out doesn't necessarily make either of these teams kind of change up a massive composition, right? The Reinhardt, okay, you're gonna have to pivot over to maybe that Ramatra, maybe that Mauga, something like that. And then the Venture, still very niche pick, like you said, is getting played a little bit more in those higher levels, but I think that you can sub in that Reinhardt just as easily for the Venture. So probably not gonna see anything too crazy, too unheard of to get started on Lijiang.
To me, it wouldn't be surprised if we're in like Ram Sim, Cassidy, or Reaper mirrors. As a reminder, Lijiang Tower is going to be our first map picked by Goon Squad, as it's just going to be a nice field to be able to play some classic, what is most likely going to be some classic EU brawl, but you never know when it comes to the Diamond Division. We will be starting out on Night Market for the first map.
Yeah, this is going to be a first to 3 here in the lower finals. You definitely want to be one of these teams getting the first win on Lijiang, getting yourself some momentum going. As we take a look at what compositions are at least being hovered here. Doors are still closed, of course. Opportunity to change if these teams so choose. Rodark on that Symmetra for Breizhurect. I suspect probably the TP out. Don't think that you'll stick with that sim with this diva composition that they look to be playing. Goon Squad running out with a little bit more closer to this kind of EU style that we were expecting. OG Mackin over on that Ramatra. No Lucio in the mix, but Sparky Bear is going to be over on that Wuyong, and here we go. Doors have opened. Genji for both sides. Blaze King on the Cassidy. Going to have to be doing work to keep AKZ and Rodark in check.
Captain Irwin just trying to apply a little bit side pressure, looking to find an angle in to get on some of these DPS and support players. You gotta make sure they're not putting too much pressure on the thing. Here we go, they're gonna dive in, looking for the pick onto the bat, onto the Blaze King. They get the pick, but do they get the Suzu comes in? The Ramatra still punching, but the pick has been made. Damage is off the field, and Breizhurect, it is cleaning up with his mini dive between Captain Irwin and AKZ on this Genji.
All right, excellent start here for Breizhurect, and that's what you need from this dive, right? You can't let Goon Squad kind of have the time to get set up and do a quick movement. You get cap of the point here on Market. Swap. Goon Squad. Yeah, we're gonna see a pretty big swap here. Cooking Bacon over onto the Lucio, Sparky, Kiriko, OG Mackin over onto this Zarya. So you're gonna have a hard time kind of outmaneuvering Breizhurect, but now you have the Reaper as well to pair with OG Mackin on this Zarya.
They have said, Captain Irwin, we will not let you play D. We're going Zarya Reaper into your face, and you are going to have a tough time. Let's see if they can adjust. They get Blaze King right off the gut, AKZ, but they do in response get the DMAC. But with Cooking Bacon going down, it feels like this fight may all be for not for the side of Goon Squad. You may want to look to recontest, get back, and flip to fight another day. Oh, and Urine gets the remake kill on the Rat. I was gonna say, if you could get back, recontest with their Diva out of mech, but that just ruins everything.
I love that change to Diva. I mean, it's old now, but you just gotta be so careful. Breizhurect now very ahead in the ult charge as well. Tyranek's gonna have this orbital ray ready to go. Honestly, you're gonna have this blade as well. Goon Squad, because you've made all these swaps, you really don't have a whole lot to work with in terms of ultimates.
Here we go, Blade coming out for AKZ, already takes a lot of damage on the incoming, has to back up, not gonna fight any, but they do get Suzu out, so the damage has been laid and the cooldowns are out. Can they capitalize? As we're going to see the bomb and the orbital ray and the Consumer Rush. Breizhurect is throwing absolutely everything in this fight, and it is coming out aces for them. Expensive fight, they clean up, and 80% and counting.
All right, I mean, you are looking at kind of last fight here. Breizhurect, nice late kill onto Rat as well. Yeah, just the pulse bomb from Rodark to try and find some value here, which is going to be so hard against not only the Suzu, but the bubbles from OG Mackin. And Goon Squad really just need to get somebody to contest. Somebody needs to touch this point because you still have this Blade, you still have this Rust to work with. You just need to trigger the overtime.
As they will, but the supports are both down for the side of Goon Squad. What more can they get done? Tyranex finds the Rat, gets the Blade, but it's all for naught. They will get the point cap, but it is all too late. Team kill comes out for the side of Breizhurect. Point cap is now in their favor. Consumer Rush going to get played, but I don't think they're going to be able to touch with that. First sub map goes in Breizhurect's favor, and I feel like that's a statement.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job on this dive composition. Even in that last fight, we saw the touch come in from Goon Squad, but they ended up very split. The supports were so far away from the point, and every time that Breizhurect is seeing that split come through, going for the dive, finding the kills, taking out the supports early in that last fight, definitely helped Breizhurect get that point. And I mean, that was 100% to 0 here, so looking really strong. Coming into Garden, Breizhurect don't seem to be changing too much. Are going to have Captain Erwin move over onto the Ramatra here. This is one of those maps where you could potentially keep Rodark on this Symmetra. I think especially if you are running that ramp, but even just the TP out is going to give Breizhurect just a little bit of that positional advantage. Goon Squad, big change up here. OG Mackin going over onto the Orisa. Rat on the Tracer, and Rodark is going to move back on over to that Sojourn here. I think that that'll be really nice for them to charge up these railguns on this Orisa.
As we see already, Breizhurect bunkering down with the Ramatra on point. A lot of damage already intaken by the OG Mason. Force out all the cooldowns for Breizhurect. That feels like you might want to start focusing on this Orisa now that you've gotten out all those cooldowns. Rodark going to go on the off angle. Suzu has already been used. So many players are low. Down goes Blaze King on the Reaper. Breizhurect is just coming into this series despite losing 3-0 previously. They have learned their lessons, and so far so good.
Yeah, looking great here. Unfortunately, Goon Squad, everybody from the team took the exact same angle in that white room, so Breizhurect is able to just basically pummel damage into them as they try to walk onto the point, and when you're on that Orisa, you don't have the shield to try and mitigate that. OG Mackin is going to swap over onto the Ramatra. You'll at least have that shield to match Captain Erwin now. Ooh, Sparky, though, falling early. It's just more time on the clock here for Breizhurect. Blaze King actually is over on the Soldier 76 as well. So if you're going to be playing the Soldier and the Tracer for Goon Squad, you need to start taking way more angles. The Tracer and the Soldier need to make sure that they are never on the same side of the map.
Here we go as they're trying to push bridge. In comes the Nemesis form to try and put a lot of pressure and force Breizhurect back. Goon Squad, the OG Mason taking a lot of damage. Down goes Cooking Bacon. They do get Tarnex in response, however, so that's a lot of heals off the table, but they found the OG Mason, and I feel like that is all Breizhurect needed. Back to the spawn rooms you go. As I say that, Rodark gets traded out, so it's a 3v3, but cleanup comes in for Breizhurect.
Ooh, Ratchet showing up in the kill feed. Kiriko hitting some headshots. The power of the Soldier 76, the legs not going to carry Blaze King back to the spawn safely, and now Breizhurect lots of ults to work with here. Stagger kills as well. Goon Squad have to just wait, and now we're approaching that kind of last fight territory. Goon Squad gonna have the support ultimates nearly built up, but I mean, you're facing off against 4 ultimates from Breizhurect, one of them being that Annihilation, where you can hold on to that Annihilation for later in the fight, so that when it gets to that overtime fight on the point, you pop the Annihilation, and Goon Squad have absolutely no option but to sit there and eat the damage.
These like support ultimates for Goon Squad are going to be of the utmost importance considering rushes and Sound Barrier just ripped from the side of Goon Squad. Will they be able to get the kills to take advantage of that early Sound Barrier? They do not. Rat is the first one found. Rodark gets 2 with the railgun. Blaze King has responded and found Ratchet, but the Annihilation, the Blade, everything is coming out for Breizhurect. There is nothing Goon Squad can do. Breizhurect comes out, makes a statement, goes up 1-0 in the series. Lijiang Tower is their map.
Yeah, and remember, this was Goon Squad's map pick. They chose to take us here to Lijiang Tower. So Breizhurect not only starting off with that kind of map win, but it's your opponent's map win here, taking both of those sub-maps 100% to 0. Really, really impressive stuff from Breizhurect. And I mean, this is exactly what you have to bring to the table to try and take down a team that sent you down to this lower bracket.
That was just an impressive gambit they pulled off there. The D.Va on the night market was very, I was like, man, it can be tough playing D.Va into a Czar Reaper, but they really made it work. You have to make sure you keep your distance, play your high ground pretty well. They even played the enemy's high ground very well to just continue to put pressure from the side. And they made that Reaper their target number 1. It's a lot of cooldowns for the Reaper though, so it feels like, you know, they were taking advantage or something, but at the end of the day, they did what they needed to do. And then making the adjustment to go to the Ram on the next map when they win Orisa, they are looking really good so far, but that's one map. So let's see how Goon Squad adjusts.
Yeah, and this is a lot of pressure on Goon Squad to adjust because right now Breizhurect has done a phenomenal job kind of stepping up and you know, changing how they've been playing, but from the last time that they faced against Goon Squad. So we're going to have to see some of that adaptability from Goon Squad as well now. They will have the opportunity to pick the next map. I think that it's a little bit tricky to kind of determine, though, which map you want to go to, because usually you would try and tailor it to something that would be kind of a weakness for your opponent, but we saw a couple of compositions out there from Breizhurect, right? Like you mentioned, we saw the Diva on Night Market. We saw the Ramatra when we went over to Garden. So far, there hasn't necessarily been kind of a clear weak link in any of the compositions that Breizhurect plays. So it makes it a little bit harder to decide which kind of map topography you're going to go to if you're Goon Squad.
100%. From Goon Squad, we've mostly seen Ram and Orisa so far. So it feels like they favor the Brawl compositions just from a one map guess. I don't know. I mean, obviously we went on a dive-oriented map, but they could have matched the Diva if they wanted to at some point. We even saw the Zarya. So my guess is maybe you want to take them to more Brawl-centric maps. I'm thinking, you know, maybe like a King's Row, maybe a Colosseo, where it's just going to be a lot more close quarters and brawly and a lot harder to play more dive. But I don't know. We just going to have to see.
Yeah, I think King's Row is definitely a good call. I feel like we always end up there anyway, so if you feel like you're the stronger kind of Brawl team, yeah, just take us to King's right away. Don't save it till the end. Don't save it so that the opponent can pick a different hybrid map, because of course, then we wouldn't even be able to go to it at all. But having the power to kind of pick the map, and like you said, Goon Squad playing that Ramatra, Zarya, both of them looking pretty good on King's Row. I think that the Zarya Reaper comp will work a little bit better as well. The Reaper having that ability to kind of get up to the high ground and contest anybody kind of on that defense, and having that verticality can really help in the composition if you're gonna run the Zarya Reaper.
As we do know what the map pick for Goon Squad is going to be, and we kind of nailed it on the head. It is going to be King's Row. El Clasico continues with a Lijiang into King's Row, first two maps. Kind of what we expect in Overwatch nowadays. But it's no surprise, as we mentioned, just the brawl that we've seen them be inclined toward running just melds itself well on a map like King's Row.
Yeah, and interestingly, I'm now thinking back to the ban that came out from Breizhurect on that first map, which was the Reinhardt, and we were thinking, okay, that's kind of weird to see the Reinhardt banned out, but if it was a target ban, and now Goon Squad is going to be taking us to King's Row, I mean, there is a possibility here that we end up with some Reinhardt gameplay. I think if you're going to play him anywhere, probably King's Row is going to be the safest bet.
That's a good point. I forgot
right?
Ryan was banned on map 1. Yeah, that is a good point.
So, I mean, like, could we end up with a Reinhardt from Goon Squad? I think it's possible.
I think it's definitely on the table. The question is just going to be, is Ryan going to be the answer? Because I'm like, maybe if you ban like a Ram with it, because I'm like, Ram just goes so well into Ryan because you can just punch through his shield anyway. Or even like if I'm Breizhurect and they want to play Ryan, I'm like, we're going to Kings. I can just play Diva anyway and just avoid your Reinhardt and dive your backline. So we'll see if they could do that to take advantage.
Yeah, and so of course, yeah, I like the call for the ramp ban, because if you're gonna play the Reinhardt, you need to win out King's Row, and I think that having the Ram as a counter swap definitely is going to shut down any thought of kind of playing that Reinhardt. The Diva, though, yes, you're going to be able to kind of just like play around that high ground, ignore the Reinhardt altogether. So there's a little bit of kind of a balance here that needs to be attained for Goon Squad coming into this King's Row, because you kind of mentioned already, we've seen a lot of Lijiang into King's Row. These are maps that every team is going to be well versed at, and they're going to have their own kind of style of playing it. So you really just have to make sure that your style is as strong as it can possibly be. And I think for Goon Squad, that would mean kind of banning out that Ram.
As we will go ahead and take it to that first ban coming in from Goon Squad, it is going to be that Ramatra. No shocking plays here. I think that's kind of what we expected, especially if they want to play Ryan, just getting him off the field. As now the second ban comes in from the side of Breizhurect, and they are banning the Lucio. So, I mean, if you do want to play Ryan, getting rid of that Lucio is tough because you need that speed boost to be able to get yourself in and out of sticky situations. So do you play it slow, or are you forced to play Juno in this situation if you're looking to play Ryan?
Yeah, the Juno definitely is an option. At least you have some form of speed. She's definitely still very, very kind of squishy. Isn't going to be able to appeal for herself the same way that a Lucio could. Although Juno did get, a little bit of adjustment in that mid-season patch, so she's going to have a little bit more control with her boosters. Maybe going to help you kind of get away from danger quickly. But honestly, very smart bans from both teams. And I think that these bans really show that they have a pretty good read on what each other are going to play by now. That first map really just confirming what I think that these teams have already learned from going up against each other so many times. But yeah, having these out, it is gonna shift things a little bit more than I think what we saw from the bans on the first map.
I've said many times, unless you're like Cuddle Puddle in the NA Diamond division, it's really hard to reverse sweep. So for this, it feels like it's almost a must-win for Goon Squad, especially if they get dominated again on this map. The mental's just going to be down. You're like, man, we just haven't even been close on any of these maps. So at least a good showing. Even if they lose, it's got to be hard fought and close.
Yeah, and in the earlier part of season 16, I mentioned that these two teams went up against each other already. The first time that they faced off against each other in week 6 was super close. It was a 3-2. We went to that map 5, and then in the mid-season, a 3-1. Not quite as close, but still, that actually went the way of Breizhurect. So as, earlier in the season, much closer. And then as we got into these playoffs, sometimes playoffs can just really make or break teams. You can either kind of really lock in or just panic and have everything fall apart. So I think right now, if both these teams can lock in, if we can see kind of a repeat of what we saw in week 6 of the regular season, I think that there's definitely potential to force us into that map 5 situation.
Breizhurect has chosen to attack first, which to me, that's always been an interesting thing in my head. Like, if I'm a team and I'm rolling, the question to me has always been, do you attack and look to dominate and get all 3 points? Or do you look to really get in their head and defend and try and get the first point hold? Because I think if you can first point hold, that's much more effective than like getting all 3 points. That really gets in their head if you dominate them first map and then first point hold them. But you risk them getting some momentum if you don't first hold. So it's always been an interesting theory in my head.
Yeah, let's take a look here. Goon Squad has a whole lot of substitutions coming in here for Kings Row. Sparky Bear going to move off of the support, so going to be over on the DPS. Serafina on the DPS as well, subbed in. Ali coming in to play the tank. Cooking Bacon still on that support, and we'll have Musi coming in to play the support alongside Cooking Bacon. So this is a whole lot of changes here. I think a little bit risky personally to kind of sub in basically an entire new team. But hey, I guess, you didn't get the win and you didn't get the momentum you wanted on the first map. Maybe you're just going to shake everything up and see how this second map goes.
All righty. As we mentioned, Kings Row going to be the location for this next map. These teams have gone back and forth all season. They played each other many times. We mentioned Goon Squad got the victory in the semifinals 3-0. So Breizhurect going up 1-0, making a statement. Question is, with Goon Squad having basically a new squad in, how is this going to change things?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I mean, we saw the Reinhardt as the preferred hero for Ali, not necessarily meaning that that's what's going to be played, but definitely it could, like we mentioned earlier, that Ram being banned out, you're thinking, okay, that's an option here. But yeah, having all of these other changes in, some specialists maybe like map dependent as well. Sparky moving over on to the DPS. At least Sparky and Cooking Bacon are definitely warmed up. Keeping those two in, definitely helpful here for Goon Squad on this defense. Ali's on the Reinhardt, looking like this May and Soldier as well. So trying to find these May walls. Ali and Sparky Bear are going to be working quite closely together. The Ana Baptiste backline as well, something that we don't see a whole lot of, but when we do see it, it does tend to be kind of on King's Row here. Cooking Bacon will likely get set up on the high ground behind the point, and then it's all about just trying to find anti-nades, and Musi kind of balancing the damage and the healing on that Baptiste. Breizhurect on the attack. Potentially getting a Zenyatta here out of Ratchet. Captain Erwin is going to go over to the Sigma as well, so it's a whole lot of poke damage here for Breizhurect. As long as they can keep their distance from Ali on this Reinhardt, you should be able to burn down some of this shield and try to find an opening pick.
Okay, this is tough sledding for a Sig if you can't keep your distance. They already found Sparky Bear with that accretion rockets. A lot of them are separated by that May wall, but Ali's been found by Rodark. That is the go sign for Breizhurect to be able to push in. Playing on this Echo, which I like the adaptation. We've been seeing Echo a lot more in OWC, especially since they got that flying change. They've been a lot more potent, and that's already going to be 2 ticks at least for Breizhurect. It looks like Goon Squad's going to be patient. They're going to have Sarah go over to the Ashe now, which Ashe has also been pretty big, but that is point cap for Breizhurect.
Yeah, everybody from Goon Squad is gotten those forward spawns, so you at least have an opportunity to try and take a fight at this choke, but losing Musi there, I mean, now you're going to be basically just forced to give space here. The wall going to allow Goon Squad to back up a little bit. Gotta play really carefully, though, because Breizhurect, the further distance the Goon Squad gets from Breizhurect, the more it's going to benefit Breizhurect with this Sojourn, with this Zen, with this Sigma. So we are going to see Sarah swap over on to the Ashe here and get some of these dynamites onto Breizhurect.
Here we go, still down to support. They're going to take the fight. I think that's a mistake. Ali gets taken down from that disruptor shot. They're looking for more picks. If they can continue to stagger, they might get so much free distance on this cart. And they're able to find Sarah. The May is trying to do their best, Sparky, of trying to put down some pressure with his primary fire, but that's it.
And looking like it's going to be a late kill onto Sparky as well. You'd love to have that May kind of a little bit closer to this next fight. Nearly built up to that Blizzard, and just feels like Goon Squad have not been able to get a solid fight here on Streets Face. That payload rounding the second corner, and Breizhurect still has a bunch of ults to work with. The Flux alone from Captain Erwin could essentially be the fight winner here.
Still have Nano available to try and save someone. Window from the high ground. They put the Nano onto Ali on the Reinhardt. Will it be enough? It looks like those backline is completely open for a Flux. AKZ has found Ali. No Flux, no problem, as point cap comes in exchange, essentially, for just the dupe, but they are going to get a little bit of a contest and eventually give it up.
Yeah, Sparky has moved over onto the Reaper now. We did see the Nano committed over onto Ali. Nothing really coming of it. Breizhurect now pushing up, taking space, doing what they've been doing kind of this entire second point, rolling into third point. Goon Squad hasn't got a foot on this payload so far, as more than 5 minutes in the bank here for Breizhurect to finish out third point of King's Row. You still have this Transcendence, you still have this Flux. Rodark has gone ahead and built up to that overclock as well. Goon Squad need to start out a fight here.
Big shatter coming in, but the Transcendence is there to keep the folks alive, but that's a great exchange in my opinion. And in the same time, Sarah has found AKZ and Tarnix with the help of that window from Musi. Here is the stabilization we've been waiting for from Goon Squad.
Yes, finally the payload has stopped moving forward. Goon Squad getting the fight win because they went first in that fight. You use the shatter, and even if you don't kind of get any limbs off of that, you force out the cooldowns, you take your next turn, you make it work. Now you have the Bob to work with from Goon Squad, the only ults here for them. Gonna be a little while before Sparky builds up to that Blossom. Captain Erwin is still holding on to this Graphitic Flux, just hasn't quite found the right opportunity. Musi with this lamp as well. You want to maybe try and bait that out before you go for the ult.
We do have a possible combination with this overclock available for Rodark as well. Could be potent, especially when you got people in the air, just, you know, nothing they can do about it if they get Flux. But Captain Erwin has found Sparky. They said you cannot get out for free. You do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Here comes Sarah. Try to make something happen. Has the Bob in the pocket. Can use it any time to buy some space, buy some cart pressure. As we're continuing to see people push up. As we see Sarah taking so much damage with the Discord Orb, but they're able to get the health back, keep themselves alive. Bob going to get thrown into the fray. How will Breizhurect respond? They have so many ults. They've been holding on to them. They get the Bob down pretty quickly thanks to the help of that Discord Orb from Ratchet. Sparky Bear very close to this. There's the Flux finally. He's not really going to find that much. Death Blossom finds two, and it's just going to be cleanup duty for Goon Squad.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we see that flux come in, and it is just an immediate response here from Goon Squad. The lamp actually came out as well there for Breizhurect, so as soon as you kind of see that come out, Sparky's gonna go ahead, pop that. Oh, very nice stuff, Goon Squad. Building up to both these support ults. Cooking Bacon does have this orbital ray ready to go. Probably want to try and use this again, first in a fight, try and build up some of these other ultimates, because Breizhurect is coming in very strong with both these DPS ultimates. Terranex also has the window ready to go.
I do like the swap over to the D.Va to be able to put pressure onto this Ashe, onto this Baptiste on the high ground. Window coming online for both of these teams. They've already found Sparky Bear. That's going to be a great start to this fight. Can they find more with this window? They might be able to, but it's not in the best position. This player's going to be able to kite out of there. Ali's going to charge out of there. And they still have both of their support ultimates they can re-engage with if you're Breizhurect. Overclock going to get rid of that immortality field, but nothing else. No kills found. As we see Captain Irwin pushing up, and they get Sarah. No Ashe to have to deal with. Orbital Ray comes in response for Goon Squad. That's going to force out the Transcendence. So Muzi should be able to have a free window. As we see AKZ take control of this high ground. Sparky Bear goes down. Still 2 minutes on the clock. Still plenty of time. The window's not going to get as much as they wanted. Sparky Bear, so much pressure. Muzi goes down. Point cap with 2 minutes essentially on the clock for Breizhurect.
The Goon Squad did get some time off the clock, you know, at least it wasn't the 5 minutes that Breizhurect rolled into third point with, but 2 minutes is still a very, very comfortable time bank here from Breizhurect, and I think, yeah, the swap coming in from Captain Irwin over onto that D.Va really, really made a difference in that last fight. The window from Muzi just not getting the value, because all of it is getting eaten up by that defense matrix, so good start here from Breizhurect, maybe seeing why they wanted to go for the attack first, really confident that they were going to be able to finish out King's Row, and they did just that. Now, what are they going to run on the defense? Do anticipate that Goon Squad probably still going to be sticking with that kind of similar composition. We didn't see any swaps, really, except save for Sarah and Sparky, the DPS, making some changes on that attack. Otherwise, just ran the Reinhardt, ran the Ana, ran the BAP. Breizhurect looking like they want a very similar composition to what they ran on the attack. It is going to be that Zen BAP backline. Lots of utility available for them. That Discord Orb from Ratchet going to be devastating to Ali, especially where Goon Squad not running that Juno, not running any kind of form of speed here. So trying to kind of maneuver around this map can be very difficult with this Reinhardt.
Alrighty, Goon Squad still going to stick to that Ana Baptiste combination. They will keep the sim, it looks like. So they want to be able to, especially with no speed available, their solution is TP their Reinhardt to this high ground and put pressure onto some of these players, but immediately booped off, which was a great job by AKZ on that Ashe. Here we go. Ratchet playing their positions. We're going to see them now just path to the high ground and try to make something happen. You got to be careful. This Ryan can charge you at any second. Ratchet's taking a lot of damage. Look like they're going to drop and rotate, which is going to be the smart thing to do. But in the meantime, Rodark gets taken down by Sarah on the off angle on that Cassidy. But you're going to need a little bit more if you want to get this Discord Orb being forced onto Ali, as now the Sig is forced into this brawl, which is not what you want to be if you're Captain Irwin. And this should be a point cap for Goon Squad.
Yeah, we can see Ratchet, the lone survivor, Breizhurect, going to forfeit this first point. Captain Irwin is going to swap over on to a Reinhardt of his own to try and take these duels against Ali. I think gotta be really careful though. Sparky Bear is still on this Symmetra, so not only is Goon Squad going to have more mobility in the use of those teleporters, but Sparky Bear is going to be able to get that Sim beam charged up very quickly off this shields from Captain Irwin.
Here we go, the honorable Rhine duel. Gotta love it, man. This is what I love about EU, is seeing honorable duels like this. We'll see if Captain Irwin will be able to match Ali on this. I think the Juno BAP, in my opinion, has a little bit better value, all things considered, unless the Ana's hitting nasty anti-nades, which is tough to do when you got a big Rhine shield in front of you, but you do have the Symmetra to be able to break that, as we see the positioning, trying to make something happen. Lots of damage taken by Sparky Bear, as we're going to see more and more of these players just take aggressive positioning. Shatter coming out, finds two, gets the charge, gets Captain Irwin back to the spawn room, but they've traded out. They've gotten Cooking Bacon sent back. Musi's now gone, no supports for the side of Goon Squad, so the rest of the players should be able to push up and clean up.
Yeah, and payload been moving forward almost this entire time. A little bit of a contest here from Ratchet is going to be Ali kind of forced to back out here. Doesn't quite have the numbers, but they do have a bit of a closer spawn, especially where you still have all these ults ready to go for Goon Squad. Breizhurect, though, looking pretty good. Shatter ready to go from Captain Irwin. You don't necessarily have as much kind of shield break potential as Goon Squad, though, so you're going to have to play this Shatter a little bit more clever, kind of try and find the opening rather than just kind of force the break.
Plenty of ultimates online. There comes the window and the bob out for Breizhurect on this defense. Putting a lot of pressure, but they're doing a great job, our Goon Squad, of just hiding away, and they'll be able to re-engage with some ultimates of their own. As we see the Shatter getting blocked, as Ali says, I'm the better Reinhardt, re-engages with the Nano, finds two. And with that, should be point number 2 cap for Goon Squad.
Nothing quite hits like a nanoed Reinhardt. You know, Rodark is going to get a parting blow onto Musi, but yeah, cap going to be achieved here by Goon Squad, and that's giving them a pretty darn good time bank coming into this third point. Not quite as high as the time bank for Breizhurect coming into third, but still very, very good, as we are going to have Sparky way caught out in no man's land here, somehow still alive through all of this, but AKC has moved over onto the Junkrat now, so Breizhurect's really looking for the shield break now.
Yeah, and they're going to get the kill onto Cooking Bacon, sent back to the spawn room. It's just so much damage being thrown down onto this field. They said, look, you know, you may have a sim, but now we have a junk to break your shield, so they're playing to their win condition pretty well. We're going to have a window versus an orbital ray coming into this next point, but the overclock could be because of death for Goon Squad. As we see, just backing up to avoid the orbital ray. That's the one thing Goon Squad has been really good about, is kiting away from these ultimates.
Yeah, and now, you know, orbital ray's done. You have an opportunity to push back in. Ali has this Shatter kind of looking behind. Is my team ready to go? The teleport in, trying to catch Breizhurect off guard.
Do not like that Shatter from the high ground. I don't care how many players are up there. It's going to be tough to make something happen. But, you know, try and fail. Sometimes it happens. You got to go for a big play to make this series tied. Ali's still going to win the Reinhardt duel, but they found Cooking Bacon, who's now moved over to the Juno, getting Rodark, but it's trades for Musi, so they don't have any supports. And with you getting the damage dealer Sparky Bear off the field, it should be it, but they still have their Ashe, they still have their Rein. They feel like they could still win this.
Yeah, you're getting as much progress as you can here. Would like to see Goon Squad kind of back off after this. The tire has been committed, and yeah, gonna find Sarah there. So it's gonna end up kind of being stagger kills coming in here for the side of Breizhurect, as we see Goon Squad backing up. You need to keep Ali alive through all of this. Gonna have the opportunity to push back in with this barrier wall from Sparky, and you have the bomb nearly ready to go. Breizhurect gonna have to have a really good response here. Nice trap coming out, but you're just not able to kind of melt down this Reinhardt. Just waiting for the teleport, I suspect, from Sparky, trying to push onto that high ground.
Simwall coming in. They find AKZ. That's a lot of damage off the field. In come those turrets to try and start melting players and getting this Rein down. They're all in a corner. This is Sim's dream. The window's going to come up, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. You're already down your Rein. Can they find some kills with this? I don't think they can. Rodark's going to go down. Ratchet's going to go down. And all lines are pointing forward. Goon Squad able to have a minute time bank higher than Goon Squad and put themselves in a great position to tie up this series.
Wow, this is great, actually. Really good attack on third point from Goon Squad. I think the Symmetra definitely felt like it was having more impact on this third point than in any of the other points that they ran, even though you're able to kind of charge up your beam a little bit faster on the streets phase because you're taking those kind of head-on fights, but having that access to the high ground for Goon Squad, really, really impactful there. Maybe not necessarily finding all of the kills, but it's forcing positioning out of Breizhurect. We saw them kind of being forced to back up because you don't have control of that high ground. So going into the overtime rounds now, they're gonna have a Goon Squad over on the defense to start. Sparky Bear gonna be showing us that Venture that was banned out in map 1. Could make for an interesting surprise for Breizhurect, because the Venture gonna combo with the Reinhardt in a way that the Mage doesn't quite, where the damage is gonna come out pretty much immediately. But Breizhurect are teasing us with something that's, you know, quite unexpected as well. I do think that you could play the Wrecking Ball here on the first point, especially against a Reinhardt. you can pretty much just outmaneuver him. Not a guarantee that we'll stick on this, but definitely could be an option here. No, we are going to go right on back to this poke composition that's been working quite well here for Breizhurect. So trying to get their supports kind of rotated up to that high ground so that you can really make full use of this Discord Orb from Ratchet.
As they're very well aware of Sparky Bear on the Venture being up there. We already saw the sticky bombs going up there trying to pressure them out, as we're going to see exactly as we see. They've spotted the Echo. Can they make something happen with AKZ? No, they cannot, but they're able to get themselves out of this position and stay safe. Captain Irwin on the SIG. Again, it's all about keeping the distance, but Ali keeps closing it with this Rhine and the Venture. Lots of damage taken from Sparky Bear. You got to be careful. They have found themselves getting caught out quite often, but AKZ gets taken out of the skies by Sarah on that Ash. Yeah, with all these players going down, you're going to get maybe 2 more fights out of this if you're Breizhurect. I don't know if the SIG is going to be the answer, especially on attack.
Yeah, and these poke compositions don't build ultimates very quickly. So 60 seconds, now's the time to make some swaps. Breizhurect, gonna do it. Move over onto this dive instead. Even gonna have Terranex go over onto the Juno as well. So really trying to get control of this high ground behind the point and displace Goon Squad. Try and split them up.
Getting Sparky Bear, great first step. They have a lot of follow-up between their D.Va, their Echo, and their Genji. They just got to make things happen. They've already got an Immortality field out. They're putting so much pressure onto these players on the high ground. They just got to make sure they find some more kills. You've only found 1. You have to clean up some more. AKZ's going to go down, but this should buy them at least a tick. Shatter's going to come out, not find anything, and they have decided they don't want to give up a tick. They found 2 kills with the re-engage, and they're going to continue to hold. Wow, what? That was insane. 15 seconds. I don't even know if you have time to re-engage with the D.Va going down late. That might be it.
Ob is ready to go here from Sarah. If anybody tries to even touch, gonna be thrown into the spawn. It's gonna hit AKZ, and that is going to not quite prevent the touch, as AKZ does manage to get a foot on. But yeah, everybody from Goon Squad basically just waiting to clean this up.
Yeah, it was great patience coming in. It looks like they did end up getting that first tick for the side of Breizhurect, which is actually a big deal. So they still have a possibility of winning this map. 2 minutes on the clock for Goon Squad. Will they be able to make it happen? Because they're going to have to get 36%, or are they going down 2-0? But at least, I'd say, at least shout outs to Breizhurect for giving themselves a possibility of still being able to win this map.
Yeah, that's right. You just have to have a really strong hold for 2 minutes and 9 seconds. I think that Goon Squad have a little bit of an edge here where they've been just kind of like running this consistent composition every time. Breizhurect starting out on that poke composition on the attack really did kind of hurt them. I really like the swap that they made over onto the D.Va comp, but you just didn't really have enough time to kind of work with. And Goon Squad going to be looking like they're going to play this Reinhardt comp. You're going to be able to basically just build up all of your ultimates in 2 minutes and 9 seconds with this composition. So you have the opportunity here to basically just do a couple of dry fights, build up some ults, and then just take, you just need a little bit over a tick. And you should be able to, clean it up here. But Breizhurect, this is a very interesting defense composition. Captain Irwin over on the Reinhardt. We have an Iyari making an appearance here for Ratchet. Definitely can be a super strong hero for finding kind of opening picks and stuff. Not necessarily going to be able to support the Reinhardt necessarily as much as maybe you'd want. But if Ratchet can find some shots here and Rodark on this Reaper can kind of find a nice angle to control this might be able to work out for Breizhurect. Just gotta really put that damage in.
A lot of win conditions that have to be met for Breizhurect, but they're already at a huge disadvantage. 2 minutes to get just over a single tick. Healing pylon going to go down for Ratchet. As we see the Alari trying to take angles, trying to take positions. As we're seeing the Ryan v Ryan duel sim TP to the high ground. Usually able to make it all the way over. Ryan's going to charge in and find Ratchet. I think that might be it. They're down to support. Yeah, down both your supports. You get the sim in exchange, but it's not going to matter. Counter charge. Down goes Irwin. Down goes AKZ. That's going to be a tied series for Goon Squad.
Team kill just to finish everything off. Goon Squad picking up their map win. Definitely feeling pretty confident after that one. I think that really feeling like this comp that they have been rolling out on, working for them. They just needed to sub in this Reinhardt, and it just feels like it was the missing piece almost.
This is kind of what we were hoping from this. I did not want to see just a stomp like we saw on Lijiang Tower, but the entire new squad coming in for Goon squad, able to play that Reinhardt composition, which kind of adds up to what we saw on Lijiang and why that Ryan ban was actually impactful and got that first map win. Maps will now go in favor for this next map of Breizhurect, and they'll get the first ban. You know, if I'm them, I don't want to tell them what to do. But if I'm them, I would go to Gibraltar and I'd be looking to ban Sim, so they can't even look to play Ryan with TPs. Like we'll see. But we are going to take it to a quick break and give these teams a chance to readjust, figure out some plans going forward. So don't go anywhere, folks. We're tied 1-1. This is the EU Losers Finals for the Diamond tier. We'll be right back.
Name straight, new wave.
Alrighty, welcome back, folks. We have a tied 1-1 series. Goon Squad versus Breizhurect, EU Diamond, losers finals. Winner goes home. Loser gets a ticket to the grand finals. Back again with Rain. But yeah, this is where we're at right now. Very excited to see how this series continues to develop. Goon Squad, able to swap out entire rosters depending on the map. So they got a deep 10-man roster. So very excited to see where we go from here.
Yeah, 4 substitutions for Goon Squad on King's Row. Now, granted, one of them was moving Sparky from support to DPS, but nonetheless, worked out for them. Tied the series up. Now, it is on Breizhurect to pick what map we are going to go to. Won't be able to go to a control or a hybrid, but we have escort, we have push, and we have flashpoint all still on the board here. So an opportunity for them to take us to a map that might be a little bit trickier for Goon Squad.
Very excited. I didn't get to see what that map was yet. Did we? Looks like we do have it. And yeah, Gibraltar. I called it. I was like, look, I would be sending that map immediately. The only question for me, I did say before the break, you need to ban Sim, right? The only caveat I have to that is, obviously they have a very good D.Va player. We saw that on Li Zhang. If they were to ban D.Va, can you play Winston as well? Like, do you have to protect the D.Va? That's the only caveat I have is do you got to ban a tank because you need to protect your D.Va?
True. And this would definitely be, D.Va ban still on the board here if it's needed from Goon Squad. So it brings up the really important question of, like, are you going to be able to run a dive here on Watchpoint Gibraltar if you do ban that Sim out? I think that you'd also kind of wonder if you ban a tank so that you can run that D.Va, then how are you going to pivot and try and deal with what we're all assuming is going to be a Symmetra that makes an appearance here from Goon Squad, because they've been playing this kind of brawl, either the Ramatra or the Reinhardt, pretty much this entire series. So taking them to Watchpoint, good first step, but I think that these hero bans definitely going to need that added layer of strategy.
Could not agree more. I think the bans, especially on a map like this, are going to be crucial. We have seen both teams with high capabilities to play in Ashe, which is this is one of Ashe's best maps, like this in Dorado, Rialto. They're very good on escort maps for Ashe, where they get a lot of long sight lines and a lot of angles to be able to work with. Again, I think the key is, if you're Breizhurect, you either got to protect your D.Va if you can't play Winston as well, or you have to ban the Sim, because if they're going to play Ryan, you can't let them just Sim TP around. It looks like the Zarya is going to be the ban, which to me is they're probably protecting the D.Va then.
Yeah, and banning out the Zarya, you might be able to play the Zarya here on Watchpoint Gibraltar, especially where one of those perks now, you're going to be able, at least you have that perk where you can, get up onto high grounds a little bit, so you have some kind of verticality here. But yeah, having that D.Va is going to be, I think, crucial here for Breizhurect. Goon Squad, how do you respond now? Because you gave the shout that, both these teams kind of liking this Ashe. I think that Sarah was doing kind of a phenomenal job on the Ashe. You probably don't want to try and ban that out, shoot yourself in the foot here. But all right, Echo going to be the selection here. Definitely an excellent choice here on Gibraltar. You got those lots of high ground. The Echo's going to be able to fly around, and those duplicates, I think, were pretty damaging as well. The Echo is getting pretty good value, able to build up those ultimates in the duplicate fairly frequently.
To me, that's just like them going after AKZ, but I mean, I think the Genji, we've seen them be able to play it, will do just fine on this map. So that's my guess, is their response to it. All right, you want me to play Genji? Okay, like, I'll do it. I think the big question is just going to be for Goon Squad. And look to Sim TP everywhere and try and make that happen. Like, even on a map like Gibraltar, even with the Sim TP, it's not the most ideal strategy, but that's the way you do it in order to make that composition work.
Yeah, it's tough too, because if you sub in that kind of and that roster, the initial roster, it's really kind of locking you into a play style. Especially, that's the thing, when you have these really deep kind of substitution pools, you're getting these players playing on kind of specific maps, right? If you need to give everybody scrim time, you're not going to have everybody playing on every map. So it does kind of lock you in a way. So you have to really think hard about how you're going to play this, because you're going to be stuck on it for the whole map.
Always plenty of adjustments you can make mid-series to make things happen. Goon Squad has decided that they will attack first. So we will see how this goes on their feet. Love this map because we can see Ashes, we can see Widowmakers. That's just one of those maps where it's like Gibraltar. Oh, we might see Widow. It's one of those maps.
True. I think also we didn't see any on King's Row, but I think that the Tracer is also very, very strong to have on Gibraltar. Oftentimes we're seeing that Tracer that's actually the one that's really responsible for the payload, whether you're pushing it or defending it. Having one of those heroes that's like hyper mobile and able to kind of support yourself is going to allow you to push that cart in the distance, while everybody else is just going to take their fight up on the high ground here. So I think that that's going to be an adjustment that needs to be made from Goon Squad specifically, because if you're so used to kind of playing this brawl composition and everybody's been playing fairly stacked, you might not be able to kind of run that style the same way that other teams might.
As we're going to see substitutions coming in, OG Mason coming back in on that DPS, Sparky Bear going to go back over to support, and Rat coming in on the DPS line.
All right, Sparky back over on the support here. So I think Mackin coming back in, interesting here. Probably not going to be seeing that Reinhardt then. I am wondering if maybe there is a Winston in the hero pool here. That would actually work out super, super nice for them to be able to have at least, some form of dive going on here on Gibraltar.
It's going to make things that much more interesting. I feel like Gibraltar is a map that we don't get to see too often because not many teams are just like, yeah, I love and want to play dive, unfortunately. So I always like to bask it in. And, there's also those crazy people who just talk about how they hate this map and hate Second Point. But here we go. Map number 2. Who's going to take that decisive 2-1 lead in the series? We talked about coming in here. This is obviously Goon Squad's map pick. I mean, not Goon Squad's, Breizhurect's map pick. They got to be feeling pretty good about this Diva matchup. So you think you slightly favor them, as we saw them do very well in the Diva comp on Lijiang Night Market. Look at Goon Squad. They're going to match it.
Yeah. Magnum going to come out on this this Diva. And I think, interestingly, also the on a break potentially here for Goon Squad against this Moira Kiriko. Very unconventional backline here for Breizhurect on their defense. I think Terranak's going to be mostly just kind of healing the Diva and trying to just kind of live on your own here. You're not going to be really doing too much with this Tracer or this Widow. But Widow v Widow duel here on Gibraltar. I'm excited to see the Sarah versus AKZ.
Interesting to see. Gonna get a hit first on Sarah, but you're just gonna get healed up as we see a lot more damage being taken. Oh, as AKZ is gonna get the headshot, win the Widow duel. AKZ. I think the one interesting wrinkle is AKZ has shown their flexibility. Rodark going over to the Tracer, as we've seen them mostly be playing Sojourn this entire time. Sarah already gonna make the swap over to the Ashe, and Sparky Bear's been taken down, and it feels like so far, great map pick for Breizhurect.
Yeah, they look pretty comfortable here. Captain Irwin's going to be able to stay in this mech as well. Ooh, Ratchet, though, pushed a little bit too far. Oh, OG Mackin taking that headshot from the Widowmaker. If Goon Squad can just regroup fairly quickly here, you might be able to get kind of an early lead, but Ratchet on the Kiriko is going to be able to just TP in immediately, and with these sites, it's going to be even harder for Goon Squad to take some space.
Again, they haven't been able to move the cart very far, so all the players are going to be able to come back relatively quickly for the side of Breizhurect and be able to take another fight. Here we go. They're going to go to dive to the high ground. Suzu looked like it had been used already, so that's one cooldown you don't have to worry about. But AKZ finding Rat. That's not the opening pick you wanted for this side of Goon Squad, because all of your pressure to dive with your Diva is just gone.
This is proving to be very tricky for Goon Squad to move this payload forward, and I think, not only is AKZ just ripping you apart, but you don't have this Tracer to kind of put pressure on the high ground. When Goon Squad goes to take the high ground, Rat is going in for that dive as well. You want the Genji to be able to try and finish off some of these kills, which means you just don't have a body on the cart. You can't get that kind of passive payload push.
As we see, once again, Captain Irwin putting a lot of pressure onto the OG Mason. Both divas have the ability to remech themselves for this next fight. Goon Squad going to have what I think is going to be the more potent supports and support ultimates for this next fight. The Brig Ana just goes insane. You can nano your Genji or whoever. But Rat's going down. They nano their diva. Going to find 2 kills, but AKZ in the meantime has responded. Found the Ana back in response, but Sarah continuing to put so much pressure on this Ashe. Finds Rodark. It does force out the remech from the OG Mason. So that's one ultimate you got offline. You don't have to worry about the nano as well if your Breizhurect and AKZ has the sights. So players from Goon Squad need to be careful about what angles they take, and Sarah gets taken down.
Well, yeah, like, what can you do? This Widow is doing such a great job of just repositioning. AKZ is always on a different angle. It feels like every time he finds a headshot, grapple. Finds another angle, finds another headshot, and ideally you just avoid the Widow altogether, and that's how you're going to counter her. But Goon Squad is just, the Widow is appearing from all angles. 60 seconds on the clock, we heard it there. Goon Squad just made it to that kind of car wash section. There's still a long way to go to just cap this first point.
And Breizhurect still has 4 of their ultimates for 2 on the side as the Kashine Rush is now going to come out to just apply so much pressure. The anti-nade's going to come out onto Irwin, however. Rally's forced out, but they get the Brig, they get cooking bacon before they can take full advantage. That rally need to be popped early. They get the D-Mech. They do get Rodak in response, but all the picks have come in for the side of Breizhurect, as you're going to get one more crack at this if you're Goon Squad.
Yeah, 20 seconds here. Sarah does have the Bob ready to go. Just a matter of kind of finding yourself in a position where the Bob won't just easily be kited out of, which is really tricky here on Gibraltar. There's so much high ground. Everybody's going to be able to play around a corner. This Diva Bomb from Captain Irwin could end everything. You can see him just getting himself set up on this payload.
We'll see how this goes. This Blade for Rat could be the nail in the coffin, at least for this spot. As the bomb's gonna come out, finds Sparky Bear, gets the D-Mech. This is not good. Bob's gonna come in to contest Cart. Rat did pull out the Blade, is not able to find the pick, but Bob's able to finish it off. But so many picks have already come in. Overtime's ensuing. The Moira has found Rat Tarnix, and that is all she wrote. A first point hold for the side of Breizhurect.
Yeah, and that is a very decisive hold. I mean, you don't even get to that second corner. You don't make it up the hill from that little underpass on the attack. And I think Breizhurect just controlled that high ground really, really well. Goon Squad just never really had a very clean engagement onto high ground to try and displace Breizhurect. We saw like one kind of dive up there, and then when you get the rally, you again try and take a fight up there. But the damage is just kind of raining in on you as you're pushing in, so you're having your cooldowns forced out. You're either like getting sent back to spawn by AKZ on this Widowmaker, but if you can't displace Breizhurect from that high ground on the defense, they're always going to have that advantage, so that even in that kind of last fight there, you had the Blade, you had the Bob to work with, but Goon Squad not quite able to move that much further. As okay, a bit of a change here on the defense. We are going to have an Orisa, the Bap Lucio backline. Sarah is going to be still on that Ashe. And then the Reaper. So I think now this is Goon Squad responding by trying to really lock down this high ground for themselves with this composition.
I think what their answer, Rain, is like, look, we know, like, we're going to have, like, the hold of a century, right? So let's just play as much sustain as we can, and as much frontline damage as we can, and just try and make a miracle happen. It's just going to be tough. Like, how do you play? Are you just going to play the corner? Are you going to play high ground? It looks like the Orisa just wants to play, you know, on the ground on the corner, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah, we really don't have any space to work with here. I mean, already, Breizhurect is halfway to that goal, and the payload has not been contested yet. Finally, is going to be the drop coming through from Goon Squad.
A lot of damage thrown onto the Baptiste. They have to be careful. That's very low. They get taken down to the end by Rodark. The follow-up is magnificent as the Reaper's forced to Wraith out. They do get 2, 3 kills, but Tyrannix on the Moira just going sicko mode. Who had Moira going off on their bingo card? I don't think I did. As now we see the Kiri forced to Suzu, however. So Rat going to keep their hopes alive for now, as you can't push this Reaper on as a Moira.
Yeah, and I mean, you have Sparky here on the Lucio as well, but I mean, now with Captain Irwin back into things, Goon Squad needs reinforcements here. Somebody needs to put a fight up.
Rat's gonna go down the immortality field just just a second, like half a second too late. Very unfortunate, as the Orisa's been forced to use all the cooldowns. Suzu's already out. Here the Baptiste keep the Orisa up, as they're going to get Sarah. Looks like the Bob. There's just no Bob available to be able to contest this card, as now they're going to look to force these players who are stuck over by the Mega Health Pack to try and come out. The Orisa solo. Pulse Bomb comes in. That is all she wrote. Breizhurect, great map choice. Goes up 2-1 in the series.
Yeah, they played that phenomenally. They knew what comp was on their board to run, and you make the map work for you. Goon Squad just did not have an answer here. I think even trying to kind of roll out on that D.Va just showed that Breizhurect much more comfortable, much more practice on this composition. I think that bringing out the Moira as well, Terranex, I would throw maybe a little bit of shade. I don't see the Moira very often at all, certainly not on Watchpoint Gibraltar, but seems like Goon Squad also not anticipating that. Doing a whole lot of damage there on that support hero.
Which is one thing we have to keep in mind and think about going forward for the rest of the series, right? Is obviously when we've gone to brawl maps, Goon Squad has been dominant. When it comes to more dive-centric maps, we've seen Breizhurect be able to dominate even harder. So with the map types that we have left, which are push and flashpoint, I don't know if you are Goon Squad. Do you look, because like, do you need to take it to the best brawl map for push? Because like, I guess Flashpoint, you can play brawl or dive, like even a Suravasa, like, yeah, you'll see D.Va, you'll see ball, but you can see other situations, it's not necessarily, both teams will be able to excel in that. So like, maybe you gotta force like a new Queen Street, force a Coliseo, because let's say you force Atlas and you want to play brawl, you win that map, and then Breizhurect's like, all right, we'll take you to Runasapi, we'll take you to Esperanza, we'll just play dive, and it's going to be tough for them to break through that.
Yeah, I think that the strategy is right on there, right? You want to take us to a push map now if you're Goon Squad, because this is going to be, if you're trying to, win here, this is going to be the last time you get the map pick. So this means that, yeah, you gotta take one of those maps from the push maps, because those are going to be much more kind of open to playing this dive and getting an advantage on this dive compared to those flashpoint maps where, like you said, you kind of play anything, but Brawl is still very strong there. So taking us to one of these push maps, I like the new Queen Street. Definitely one of the push maps that we see kind of the least amount, I think, but if you're going to be playing this brawl composition, really great option for you.
As again, backs against the wall for Goon Squad. They have to win the next 2 maps in a row, or they are headed home, and the revenge factor for Breizhurect will have come through strong. So this will be their last map pick of the series. Even if they end up winning, it will shift back into Breizhurect's favor. So they have to make these bans and these situations count, because on Flashpoint and Push, there's no sides to choose. So whoever picks because technically in the rules, you can say, if you picked Escort, you can say, I'd rather pick my side first instead of my ban first. When it comes to Flashpoint and Push, there's no sides. You get to pick map and first ban. So this is going to be a very important decision from Goon Squad.
Yeah, Goon Squad deciding, are we going to go to a push map? Are we going to go to a Flashpoint map? Seems like they have opted for the latter here, since we will be heading into Suravasa for map number 4.
As I mentioned, this is going to be a map that, to me, favors heavily both teams' play styles. Brawl is fine on this map. D.Va Dive is also fine on this map. I could see both situations working, even, if you want to go Zarya as well with the Brawl to counter the D.Va specifically. I think both teams, in what they've been playing, should work fine. The question is just going to be, are they going to regret taking us to Flashpoint? Maybe they just want to make sure they can guarantee a map number 5 and then play to the best of their abilities when they hit push, and just, we'll come to it when it comes, but we have to get to map 5 first, which I get it.
That's true. That's true. You want to have some level of comfort here as you head into this fourth map where now you're, Breizhurect is at match point here. So if Breizhurect's able to get this win on Saravasa, that's it. That's the end. They get to go to the finals and Goon Squad will be out. But this will all lead into kind of those bans that we're going to have to see what happens with those because a lot of, I think, really impactful heroes have kind of been banned out here already. We saw that Reinhardt ban coming in from Breizhurect and the Lucio ban as well, kind of just taking away from this rush composition that Goon Squad likes to play. So now I think that Goon Squad may be going to be a little bit easier for them to kind of play into these bans that Breizhurect are going to be coming up with.
Here we go. Ban phase is now live. Goon Squad obviously getting that first ban. I think it's going to be of the utmost importance. Like, do you just rip the D.Va ban? Like, you're like, look, D.Va's good on this map. We can't just let you play D.Va for free. I think that's a possibility. We'll see, because I think Rodark and AKZ have shown that they're extremely flexible. So I don't know if you look to target ban them. And it's like the supports as well. It's like their supports have just been playing a bunch of different things if you're Breizhurect. So it's kind of hard to tell. Like, it feels like the tank target ban might just be their best play just because of the flexibility we've seen from the rest of their team, as the Juno ban is the one that's going to come through.
Interesting. I suppose taking the Juno out of the mix, definitely an option. The thing is, I don't know that you necessarily pick the Juno over the Lucio if you're looking to kind of play with that speed. We have seen Breizhurect play some of this Juno, but I mean, you hit the nail on the head, right? We've seen them play a whole lot of different things. So seeing the Juno ban here, I mean, I don't know, kind of feels a little odd, but if that's what's going to give you the upper hand, all right. That's great. It does protect the rest of the supports as well. So if you want to run something cheeky, you want to run the Ana, maybe the BAP, at least you have that option if you're Goon Squad. Well,
Breizhurect, we know they can't ban the Rhine, so we know that's going to be a possibility on this map. Question is, where do they like to go? Do they like to target a DPS possibly on the side where they felt like in the Rhine comp, this specific DPS was troublesome? Or, maybe they ban like a Reaper or something, because there was points where Sparky Bear was going pretty insane. The sim makes sense too. Don't want to be dealing with sim TPs and sim turrets on these points on Saravasa. I get it.
Yeah, and gonna take away, some of that mobility and in the TPs, especially there's like small amounts of high ground kind of scattered across Saravasa that you can kind of work with using that TP to get up onto the high ground. An annoyance of a DPS hero, so not gonna have to worry about that here, but these two bans basically just mean that we are probably going to be reverting back to the compositions that we saw kind of on King's Row, the D.Va for the side of Breizhurect, and probably the Reinhardt or maybe the Ramatra here for Goon Squad, depend on if they have any substitutions that come in to try and fill out this roster.
Sim and Juno, so the Rhine composition is definitely going to be hindered. And even if you want to play D.Va on this map, if you're Breizhurect, getting rid of the Sims Sim can be very annoying for D.Va. You can't eat that primary fire. Sim will just kind of eat you alive on D.Va, so you have to keep your distance. And the turrets can just be an annoyance anyway. So I think, whether they're playing D.Va or whether they're going to match the Rhine again, which I think would be a mistake, you're playing into their hand. Question is, do they look to bring in Rhine here? Because this has definitely been more of like an Orisa, Ram, Zarya more style brawl. But I mean, I would say the same thing about Kings is, yeah, here we go. Ali's coming back in. We shall go and get the brawl once again, the Reinhardt.
Yeah, Musi back in as well, and Bagel coming in. We have not seen him yet so far in this series. Potentially, maybe an Ana kind of a specialist. I think that Ana does get played a decent amount on Saravasa, where you're really going for those kind of aggressive anti-nades. But the question remains, if you're going to play this Reinhardt, are you going to have some form of speed to work with that? Because we weren't really seeing that on King's Row. Granted, Goon Squad did still make it work, but as we head into Saravasa, this is a much bigger map, and it's going to be so much harder to kind of kite around these angles as Reinhardt if you don't at least have some form of speed in the Lucio, where you banned out the Juno.
That is the question of the day, is how are these teams going to look to play this? Because we saw on Kings, as you mentioned, Lucio was banned. So They had the TP to get away from the Lucio before. Now they have the Lucio and no TP. So it's going to be a nice dichotomy coming into Suravasa. I think the bigger question for Breizhurect is, are they going to continue to play the Diva, which I said is very good, very fine on this map, or are they going to, in my opinion, mistakenly try and match this Reinhardt? Even Ramatra, like I'd even go Ramatra into them because Ramatra was previously banned on King, so I'd even think about playing Ramatra if I was them.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you do want to play the Diva, I think I'd like to see Breizhurect play a little bit more of that Tracer that we got to see on Watchpoint Gibraltar. I think especially on the Suravasa maps, having a kind of control of that angle, those angles would be really, really beneficial for Breizhurect because Goon Squad have not shown us a Tracer yet. We've seen kind of the Genji and Sarah more so on those hit scan DPS. So if you can swing, kind of being able to control those angles could be big here for Breizhurect, but looking like the Diva is definitely on the table. AKZ over on that Genji. Wouldn't be surprised to have Breizhurect come out on this Sojourn. Very excellent choice here. Although you're not necessarily going to have kind of the survivability of the Tracer, you're still going to be able to kind of play on these angles, put pressure onto Goon Squad from a few different lanes. And when you're playing against a Reinhardt, it's all about trying to get these angles of damage as Captain Irwin is going to make that swap over onto the Ramatra, sensing that Ali is going to be rolling out on this Reinhardt. Sarah going to be over on that Cassidy, a little bit of frontline presence here. Bagel on the Lucio here, so we are having him come in to kind of play this main support, try and taxi Ali around a little bit. We'll have to see if this is going to make a difference in this Rhine composition.
See Ali already going for the charge, taking a lot of damage from that Matra. Immortality field being forced out, and however, because a lot of the incoming damage they took between that flashbang, between those dashes from Rat and Sarah, they're able to clean up the fight relatively quickly and with ease. That's going to be, you know, the issue for Musi is those immortality fields are going to have to be picture perfect because the burst damage that Breizhurect is going to have, you got to keep the Rhine alive through that.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure on the Baptiste here, the source of healing for pretty much the entire tank here, as Bagel's going to try to just kind of keep on this speed. Breizhurect looking to take this outside angle here, starting off with a kill. Sarah, she just got a little bit split from the rest of Goon Squad.
Yeah, Immortality is going to go down. They have a lot of pressure on the Baptiste as well. Can they get the final kill? They do with the rail shot coming in from Muse. They do find AKZ in response, but it's already 2 versus 1. They do get the Rhine in response. You've lost Terranex, but I think that should be it for this fight. That's going to be a flip for the side of Breizhurect.
Musi is going to swap off of that Baptiste over onto the Kiriko. You still have that Suzu as a little bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card, but now you're going to have a lot more survivability, I think, especially if you're playing into this Lucio Kiriko from Breizhurect. The Baptiste is going to get run down kind of 9 times out of 10 here as Breizhurect in control of this point, building up to the Annihilation. Another early pick here onto Sarah. Unfortunately, the Cassidy for Goon Squad going to fall. Goon Squad's still kind of lurking around here. They have to make the decision. Are you going to stay in this fight or are you going to back up? It is going to be a little bit of a disengagement here. You just have to wait for Sarah to get back in. You're building up to this Shatter. If you can kind of get that shield out from Captain Irwin, it's an opening, but no, just more stagger kills coming through here for Breizhurect.
Yeah, AKZ winning the Genji duel and then winning the tank duel for Captain Irwin on the Ram. Now that you have the Ram available, being able to match up with this Reinhardt is going to make things that much harder for the side of Goon Squad. And they're just continuing to get these staggers. It's like, with how fast these points tick up, do you even get a touch?
Yeah, I don't think that Goon Squad should go for it. If you get a touch, it's going to be a very scrappy fight. Does look like there's going to be the pin in, though. I mean, they're going for the touch.
Oh, I don't like that at all. It does force out Kitsune Rush, and you do get 1 kill from it, but you're down your Reinhardt. High Noon now going to come out. They're not able to get anything. This just feels like a disaster fight coming out as desperation from Goon Squad is now ensuing.
It's really hard to kind of have this restraint when it comes to Flashpoint maps, is that you really want to get this contest, but the percentage builds up so quickly. If you can't have a clean 5-person fight on your last chance at a Flashpoint fight, it's usually not worth taking it, as Breizhurect, like you mentioned, did commit the Kitsune Rush into that. Both DPS ultimates and this Annihilation ready to go, though. Bagel does have the beat, probably in response to either this Annihilation or the Blade from AKZ.
Bagel going to get the pick onto AKZ, which is the opening pick you'd want, and they're going to aggressively beat. I don't know if you needed that given you were up 1 in this fight, but we'll see if they can take full advantage. A lot of damage already taken. This is going to force out Annihilation with no sound barrier. People to deal with it, but you've lost your supports. feels like, again, these teams and their ultimates, man, I don't know why they are committing annihilation. They're already down 2.
Press Q, try to win the fight. Doesn't work out this time. At least Breizhurect will have that blade still in the back pocket. Ratchet building up to the beat as well. Bagel did commit that, so you are going to have kind of the benefit of having that over Goon Squad. However, Goon Squad actually don't even have any support here. Bagel sent back to the spawn. Hopefully just looking for another regroup.
Yeah, as we see the pressure already being applied onto the Kiri and the Reinhardt TP Suzu already used. Quick re-engage, quick point grab. Breizhurect is very good at their re-engages.
Yeah, that's true. Really capitalizing on that initial pick, right? They do not just sit around and kind of give time for Goon Squad to regroup and get back into a fight. And once they get that kill, they are going to follow through on finding the rest of them now in control of the point. 46% here for Goon Squad, not too bad, especially because you do have this Kitsune Rush and the Blade ready to go, and you are up 1. No Blade for Breizhurect to try and respond or protect this point.
Kitsune Rush going to come out for the side of Goon Squad as the teams are going to look to back up. Still a Sound Barrier available as the Blade comes out. The Sound Barrier not able to save Rodark. High Noon now going to finish off Ratchet. They do get Sarah, but that is the fight. However, if you are Breizhurect, you did force out 3 ultimates out of Goon Squad for your 1.
Yeah, and I mean, you got the lead here. Now, Goon Squad is going to be able to get up to that 68% and probably more in this next engagement here. The Shatter ready to go from Ali. I kind of mentioned this earlier on market. You can get a pretty good Shatter here if you can kind of force out the shields from Captain Irwin. A lot of the time, though, you might just want to go for the solo Shatter. You just need to make sure that you kind of confirm that kill if you're Goon Squad, because this is going to be your big ult.
There it is, Shatter coming in. Kitsune Rush force out. KZ try and clean things up with his Blade, and the Annihilation is going to get put in. That might be everything they needed. They are able to do that. Oh, Sarah able to get to... They did it! Holy crap, Sarah! Sarah clutches!
I can't believe she turned that around. I mean, up against the face of an Annihilation and a Blade, and somehow Sarah comes out on top. That's absolutely incredible stuff from the DPS here from Goon Squad as they pick up that flashpoint, tying us up 1-1. Both teams heading over to Garden for this third flashpoint. Goon Squad is going to be able to get set up first here, forcing Breizhurect to kind of push in, which not necessarily where you want to be if you're Breizhurect, because you do have this this overclock ready to go from Rodark. You'd love some space to work with.
Rodark already going to go down, and another pick from Sarah getting Tarnex. Just a quick and easy team fight win. No ults committed. Goon Squad, that's exactly the fight they were hoping for and needed, and were able to come through. AKZ able to take out Rat in the end, and he himself is looking to get away. It looks like they're able to, as they're still looking and hunting for him. As we see the entire team is now there, but the reinforcements are here for Breizhurect.
Yeah, you're going to be able to get regrouped here, trying to maybe find a kill onto Ali. No, the support is going to be there from Goon Squad. Now, pushing into this, Breizhurect, you still have that overclock, but the Bagel is built up to this beat.
Yeah, Sound Barrier being forced because of the pressure that Irwin was able to point on to Ali on the Reinhardt, but the High Noon able to take down Captain Irwin on that Ramatra. That's going to seal the fight, in my opinion, for the side of Goon Squad. And just look at that, man. You get maybe one more crack at this point if you're Breizhurect.
Yeah, the beauty of Flashpoint is, you win a couple of fights and you're pretty much good to go on the point. As Rodark not going to be in the fight for this last recontest if Breizhurect come in for it. That's your one ultimate that you have ready to go for them. Looks like they are going to, regardless, come in for the touch as Ratchet has popped over onto the Moira.
Here we go. They're going to be able to touch as we do see that D.Va swap as we talked about. Lots of damage thrown down. The supports are low for Goon Squad, but a great Shatter coming out. Able to force and basically win this fight for Goon Squad. 2-1 on Saravasta.
Putting themselves at a map point here, trying to win Saravasta and tie us up in the series. Palace, our next flashpoint, not too far away. Easy little jump over for Goon Squad. Get themselves set up on this high ground. Rat has the Blade ready to go as we do have a call for a pause coming through just before we get to that Palace flashpoint. Still going to be locked up for a little bit here, but Breizhurect do have both these DPS ultimates to work with and the Kitsune Rush, so lots on the table here for them to try and take this Palace point. I think that you, first off, though, will need to definitely try and take this high ground. We can see that Rat and Musi are already set up there trying to control it.
Here we go. Right back into it. Still plenty of ultimates for both teams. Dueling Blades is what I think is going to be the important one.
Yeah, we have point going to be unlocking shortly here, and we can see that Ali on the Reinhardt trying to be the first contest on it. Now with Captain Irwin over on the Diva, now you're not going to be able to take these tank duels necessarily the same way. You really want to try and play for attacks on the squishies.
AKZ cleans up 2 in the fight. Captain Irwin able to find a 3rd, despite 2 coming in from the side of Goon Squad. This should be everything that Breizhurect is able to need. They are able to get this point for now.
Yeah, good value from AKZ's Blade there. Rodark didn't have to use this overclock, still have that in the bank, and you're going to have the bomb built up by Captain Irwin. Suspect that might just be for a remake. Kind of hard to find the bomb value here against this Reinhardt and the Kiriko. Taranex is going to swap over to the Moira here. A small opportunity for Goon Squad to take an engagement before he's back in the fight.
Overclock available for Rodark. They are going to pop that. A lot of pressure being applied. Picks being traded out, but Taranex going down could spell disaster. They are able to trade out for another support. They're able to clean up and get an extra kill in their favor. The overclock coming through for Rodark, able to clean that up despite losing a support early.
Ooh, yeah, if you're Goon Squad, you need to take Rodark off this high ground here, which is essentially going to mean kind of doing a full rotation up there, because the only person that can really just get up there easily is going to be Rat and Bagel. Now, lots of ultimates here for Goon Squad to push back in with. Looks like they are going to path up towards this high ground, try and displace the Sojourn. You're going to need to get at least a foot on the point, though.
Oh, and the sound barrier is just a little bit late for Goon Squad, as Rat able to trade out and get Rodark off of the server for now. Bagel, however, going to get taken down. So many low players for the side of Goon Squad as they're trying desperately to make this happen. AKZ going down, but all the kills are now in. Breizhurect has tied this 2-2 as we're going to Ruins to decide, will Goon Squad be forcing him at 5 or just Breizhurect punch their ticket to the grand finals?
It definitely looks like Breizhurect are trying to clear this up here and now. Are going to be heading over to Ruins to get themselves kind of set up. The bomb ready to go from Captain Irwin. See what they make use of. Goon Squad actually is going to be able to get their positioning on the point first here. This Reinhardt definitely going to be hard to kind of push into this, but Goon Squad have just essentially split themselves up.
As trades Ratchet for Rat, but you will take the trade if you are the side of Goon Squad, getting a support out of the way, and you get Rodark as well. Puts him in a great spot, but the squish kill coming onto Bagel evens things out. It's a 3v3. Make that a 3v2. Yeah, wow. Wow, the cleanup coming in from Breizhurect. Did not expect that after them getting that exchange early on.
Yeah, it was looking pretty good for Goon Squad. Ali went for kind of a pin into, I think it might have been the Genji that was kind of over on the side, AKZ, and you do manage to secure that kill, but that means that your supports are basically just left out to dry here, and Breizhurect with this dive composition really making use of that.
Forcing out the cooldowns as the Blade comes out, as well as that Coalescence. 2 big ultimates from the side of Breizhurect. They need to find a couple more kills to make the investment worth it, but they lose Ratchet. That is not what they were looking for. Can they get Bagel on this Lucio, who's so low? So far they cannot, and they're going to lose Rodark. That feels like a disastrous fight for the side of Breizhurect, as Goon Squad is going to ultimately flip this point.
Yeah, you just have trying to contest on the point. Actually, the contest does come through, so Breizhurect going to be able to at least build some more percentage here, and finding that kill onto Bagel. The beat now gone. AKZ. Oh my god, he can't be stopped.
This man is on a tear. They're forcing pressure onto this point. There's still plenty of players here. Shadow's going to come out. It's going to find Ratchet, but there's still players for the side of Breizhurect, as now the Kitsune Rush is forced to be thrown on point for Goon Squad, but they've lost Musi. It is not looking good for the side of Goon Squad. They got to find some kind of hero play at some point. Maybe it's Rat with this Blade, but they've lost Ali, and with 85% and counting for Breizhurect, you got to bide your time if you're Rat. You got to be able to touch the point and use the No! They fall off the edge with the Blade, and that is all she wrote. Disaster strikes for Goon Squad. Breizhurect wins the map, wins the series, and punches their ticket to grand finals.
Really nice stuff from Breizhurect, making themselves known here, finding their revenge on Goon Squad for sending them down into this lower bracket in the first place. They will be heading on to that grand finals. 3-1, a very, very stark contrast against that 0-3 that Breizhurect took in the first round of the playoffs.
My heart breaks. Rat, no, not falling off the edge. I don't know if they would have won that, but that is not how you want to see your season come to an end. But all things considered, great season overall from Goon Squad. Coming in third is nothing to feel bad about. It just sucks the way it happened.
Yeah, it's so rough to go out like that, especially, you know, both these teams put up really, really great fight all the way through it, and I really love to see the strategy that came out, not only in the map picks, but in the hero bans as well, because I think that as we, you know, see in a bunch of different tiers, the diamond tier, sometimes it's a little bit harder to really be impactful with those bans, with the map picks, where the players can be a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more diversity happening in this range, but I think that seeing that level of strategy from both these teams was really fun.
Congratulations to Breizhurect, as they will be moving on to the grand finals. But don't go anywhere, folks. We will be taking a short break as we set up a winner's interview with a player from Breizhurect. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. That was the thrilling series we just watched in the EU Diamonds Losers Finals between Breizhurect and Goon Squad. Breizhurect taking that victory 3-1, and we got Ratchet and Draco from the winning team for an interview. First of all, how do you guys feel? How are you guys doing?
Tired. Not gonna lie. It was a tricky series. I have to sub for Dr. Unicorns on support. It was clearly my worst role so far. Thanks for the team for helping me, of course.
Oh, that's all right. Got it done. That's all that really matters. So this was not, of course, the first time that you've come up against this team. So how did you guys prepare? Because this is a really, really different scoreline than what we saw in that winners round 1, where you guys fell 0-3 to Goon Squad. Oh, sorry, that was in the back in the mid-season.
No, it was winners finals round 1, yeah.
Round 1? You guys went down against them? So how did you change to prepare?
Rico, you want to say something?
Yeah, why not? We work a lot. We had a lot of training on some composition, like you see on King's Row. We tried a different pick, different way to abort the maps, and we analyze a lot the Goon Squad play.
Yeah, worked out for you guys.
We know that Reinhardt was a really big problem for us, and we train it, but we still have some difficulties on it. So we have to make some adjustment for the next match.
Yeah,
and Ally is really strong on range, so we were not confident to duel him, so we try to counter him as much as we can. It worked out.
No, it definitely did. I mean, yeah, you guys came out with the Reinhardt ban on map 1, and then taking us to Watchpoint Gibraltar. I think very, very smart play as well. I did have a question about Watchpoint Gibraltar, because you guys came out with a Moira here. Is this something that that you guys planned, or did this just kind of fall into place? I mean, it worked regardless.
Yeah.
It was just tricky because we have incompatibility with all picks, playable hero. So we just do that as we could. Usually we go Anna, but Arinex was not in a good shape today, so he tried Moira, and we know he is deadly on Moira, so he tried out. It worked. Not gonna complain.
He's a like a night terror. I swear. I'm not gonna lie, he's very, very, very strong on Moira, and we are very confident. When he said, I will be on Moira, we listen to him and we say, okay, do it.
Yeah,
we trust you.
It was a little bit trickier on last maps because I was on Moira, he called it, so we have to swap. It was a whole project.
But
sweet. I mean, sometimes it just comes down to that. Just, hey, trust me, bro, I got this, and that you guys did, and it worked out beautifully. All right, so last thing for you guys, floor is you guys. Shout out whoever you need to shout out, but floor is yours.
On my side, little shout out to Goons, of course, because it was a very tough match. But I want to shout out especially to Miri, our manager, who work really hard with our availability. It was a nightmare to play in match this season, and he really deserved some shout out to me.
And for me, I will say thank you to my team, because they are very, very, very impressive, and I know they have a big schedule, full schedule, so that's very hard to manage it. So yes, a big thank you to Mary, but a big thank you to the players too, who are maybe a little bit rusty. I don't know if we say like that, because they have to play like once a week or twice a week, and sometimes it's really hard to make them play together. So a big GG to them.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for this interview, and good luck in the grand finals. We can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
You're a very nice guest.
Appreciate it. All right, guys. That was Ratchet and Draco from Breizhurect interviews. Congratulations to them. We still have a lot of CGL action going on this weekend for you guys. Tomorrow, we got quite the Sunday for you guys. We got 6 games that are going to be streamed. We'll have 2 EU games happening, 4 NA games happening, all with lots of elimination games on the line. So you aren't going to want to miss that. We do have another game that just ended on CGL 2 as well, where they're doing the interview right now as well. But either way, both games ended up being 3-1s. Congratulations to Smelvin on the other stream. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. We will be going live 2 hours earlier than we did today with the first game tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in for that. So it'll be at, I believe it's at 1800 UK time. And we'll be having games, as I mentioned, 6 of them tomorrow. So make sure you tune in. And shout outs to everyone in chat. It was a very lively chat today. Shout outs to Knock and shout outs to June for being able to prod in OBS for us while we have a lot of people in Stockholm right now at OWCS. And thank you, Rain, for being here with me. It was a joy. And with that, we will go ahead and see you next time at a later cast.